refused to die a soldier who survived multiple wars, countless battles, and injuries. Death should have ended his life many times. While others fell, he stood back up. While bullets flew and empires collapsed, he kept walking forward. This is not a legend, this is history. The year was 1823. America was still raw, untamed, unfinished. The western frontier was not a place of opportunity, it was a place of risk. A place where one mistake could cost you everything. Among a group of fur trappers moving along the Missouri River was a man named Hugh Glass. He was not a general, not a hero, not a celebrity. He was just a frontiersman, a man trying to earn a living in the hardest environment imaginable, but life on the frontier had rules. And the first rule was simple: nature doesn't care about you. One morning, as the group moved through a dense stretch of forest near the Grand River, Huck walked slightly ahead of the others. This was normal. Scouts often moved forward to check for danger. The air was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no rustling, leaf, only stillness. And then it happened. From behind a cluster of trees, a massive grizzly bear appeared, not at a distance, not giving warning, close, very close. Behind her were two cabs, and in that instant, the situation became deadly. This was not a hunting bear, this was a mother protecting her young, and there is nothing more dangerous in the world than a mother who believes her cubs are threatened. The bear charged. Huck tried to raise his rifle. It misfired. In seconds, the animal was upon him. The impact knocked him to the ground. The wild turned into chaos, dust, weight, confusion, instinct. He tried to fight back with a knife, not because he believed he could win, but because survival is sometimes not logical. It is instinct. The struggle lasted several minutes, long enough for pain to blur his senses, long enough for his body to suffer severe injuries. When the rest of the trappers finally had the commotion and rushed and they fired at the bear, eventually it fell, silence returned. But the damage was done. Huck Glass lay on the ground, barely breathing. His ribs were badly damaged, his leg was broken, his back severely injured. He couldn't stand, he couldn't even sit up. The men looked at him, and what they saw was not a survivor. They saw a dying man. They tried carrying him. For days, they moved slowly, taking turns, lifting his injured body. But the frontier was dangerous. Native tribes in the region were hostile toward trappers. Supplies were limited, and moving slowly meant becoming an easy target. The expedition leader faced a terrible choice: protect the entire group or risk everyone to save one man who might not survive anyway. In the end, he made a decision. Two volunteers would stay behind the hug until he passed away. They would bury him properly. Then they would rejoin the group. It was presented as mercy, but it was also practicality. The rest of the men continued on. The wilderness grew quiet again. For days, Huck drifted in and out of consequences. The sun burned during the day, cold air peached at night, his body fought infection, his breathing was shallow. The two men staying with him waited. They expected him to die quickly, but he didn't. Day after day, he continued breathing, weakly, painfully, but alive. The man grew anxious. Rumors spread that nearby tribes were approaching. Fear began creeping into their minds. Fear changes people. It makes them impatient. It makes them selfish. It makes them justify decisions they would never normally make. And one morning, they made theirs. They took Huck's rifle. They took his knife. They left him lying on the ground, alone. No weapon, no food, no protection, no chance. Or so they believed. When Huck finally regained full awareness, something felt wrong. No voices, no movement, just wind. Movement through trees. He tried to speak, nothing. He turned his head slightly. Pain shot through him, but worse than the pain was the realization they were gone. He had been left behind. Most men in that moment would have surrendered to fate. Most would have accepted the end because logically survival seemed impossible. But logic is not always what saves us. Sometimes survival begins with something much simpler, a decision, and lying there, staring at the sky above him. Huglas made one, I will not die here. It was not dramatic. He didn't shout it. He didn't know how he would survive. He only knew one thing. If he stopped trying, death was guaranteed. If he tried even slightly, there was a possibility, and possibility was enough. He rolled into his stomach. The movement was almost unbearable. His ribs protested. His leg could not support weight, but he did not need to walk. He needed to move. He began to crawl, inches at a time, pull, pass, breathe, pull again. The bitterness didn't suddenly become kinder. It remained indifferent. He found water in nearby stream. He ate weed barriers when he could find them. He used mud and natural elements to help protect his wounds from further infection. Every night was a challenge. Cold temperatures, strange sounds, the knowledge that predators roam freely after dark. But something inside him had shifted. When you face death directly and survive, fear changes way, shape. It no longer controls you the same way. Days turned into weeks. He followed rivers, knowing they often led to settlements or trading posts. His goal was Fort Kiowa, nearly 200 miles away. 200 miles for a healthy man. That is difficult. For a wounded man with broken on distance, he focused on movement. One more pull, one more death, breath, one more sunrise. This is how impossible journeys are completed, not by thinking about the end, but by surviving the present. At one point, he encountered a group of Native Americans. He was vulnerable, defenseless, but instead of harming him, they showed mercy. They provided food, basic treatment, temporary shelter. This moment reminds us of something important. Even in harsh times, humanity can still appear after resting and regaining some strength. He continued. His leg slowly healed enough for him to stand briefly, then to limp. His body was scared, thin, exhausted but alive. After nearly 6 weeks of crawling, walking, surviving, Hugh reached Fort Kiowa. The soldiers there could not believe what they saw. A man they believed dead. He walked out of the wilderness. His survival story spread quickly. The man who was left to die had refused to accept it, but this was not just a survival story, it was a mind test story because what truly saved her class was not medicine, not strength, not luck alone, it was a decision. And that decision carried him through pain, isolation, and uncertainty. But his story was not finished because survival changes a man and betrayal leaves questions.